Welcome to SV Union High School and Junior College. Now we are going to discuss about the access specifiers. There are three important access specifiers in C++ programming. In C++ programming, a class consists of the access specifiers under which we can declare the data members and member function. In the diagram, public, it is the access specifier. If we declare the data members and member functions under the public access specifiers, then these are accessible to outside world. If we declared under the protected access specifier, then it is accessible to derived classes. And if we declare the data members and member functions under private access specifiers, then it is not accessible to outside of class. So now we are going to see in detail what are these access specifiers. Access specifiers can be three types, that is private, protected and public. So we'll see private. This access specifier makes sure that the private members can be accessed from other members of the class only or from the friends of class. Okay. So who will access? That is a friend of class or member of that class only. Second, protected. This access specifier makes sure that the protected members can be accessed from members of the same class, from the friend classes and also from the members of derived class. Okay, means what? If we declare the data members and member functions under the protect access specifier, then those member can accessible by the same class or friend class and the derived class. And if we declare the data members and member functions under public access specifier, then these access specifier makes sure that the public members can be accessed from anywhere through the object of the class. So any class can access the members under the public access specifier by using the object of that another class. Private, protected, public are also called visibility labels. Okay, the members that declare private can be accessed only from the within class, means from that particular class only access that private members, not outside of that class. Public members can be accessed anywhere through the object of class. As I said, if we have an object of any other class, then by using that object we can access the public members. In C++, data can be hidden by making private. If you want to hide the data for the security purpose, then you have to declare that data under the private access specifiers. Now we discuss the public access specifier in detail. If we declare public, public means what? All the class members declared under the public will be available to everyone, means any other class outside of that same class. The data members and member functions declared public can be accessed by other classes too. Hence, there are chances that they might change them. So this is a disadvantages. If any other class can access that, they can change the data. So the key members must not be declared public. Now see example, class public access, in which in the body of the class we declared under the public section int x and one function void display. So data member is int x and the data member function is void display, which are declared under the public access specifier. Now we discuss about the private access specifier. Private keyword means what? That no one can access the class members declared private outside of that class. If you are declaring the data members and the member functions under the private access specifier, then outside of that particular class no one can access those data. So I said you can hidden the data by using the private access specifier. If someone tries to access the private members, they will get a compile time error as you are not accessible that data members. By default, class variables and member functions are private. Means what? If you are not declaring the access specifier for that particular data members and the member functions, then by default it will be private. See the example, class private access. In a body of that class, we write the private, that is the access specifier. In under that we declare the variable int x and we declare the function, that is void display. So data member int x and the member function void display are declared under the private access specifier. Now protected access specifier. Protected, it is the last access specifier and it is similar to private. Okay, some similarity between there. It makes class members inaccessible outside the class. As in a private, that data members, that is the class members, are not accessible outside the class. Same in a protected, but they can be accessed by any subclass of that class. Okay, subclass of that particular class can access the data members and the member functions if you are declaring the protected. For example, if class A is inherited by the class B, then class B is subclass of class A. Okay, so that class can accessible the data of parent class. See in example, class protected access. So in a body, that is in scope of class, under the protected access specifier we declare the int x, that is the data member declaration, and void display, that is a member function declaration. So these two, that is the data members and the member function, we declared under the protected access specifier. Now see the example, class circle. Okay, in a class circle, under the class, that is in body of the class, private. So here we are using the access specifier private, where we declare the variable double radius, that is a private data member, as it is declared under the private access specifier. Now public. So under the public access specifier we declare the public member functions as void set radius double r, double get diameter, double get area, and double get circumferences. So these are the data members and the member functions. Data member we declare under the private access specifier, and data member functions we declared under the public access specifiers. Now see access specifiers. First column, class member access specifier. Second, accessible from own class. Third column, accessible from derived class, and fourth column, accessible from object. So first we will see about the private members. So private members are accessible from own class, means only from that class, that is its own class members can access the private members. It is not accessible from the derived class and also from the object, that is from any object, means what? The object of any other class. So private data members are not accessible outside the class. Second, protected members. So protected members are accessible from its own class, means its own members can access the data. Then second, accessible from derived class. So protected members are accessible in a derived class, means class A is the parent and from that class B is derived, then the member of the class B can access the data of the class A. If we declared the data members and the member function in class as protected, then it is accessible, but it is not accessible from object, means outside the class it cannot accessible. And third, public members. So public members are accessible from its own class, so its own member can access that data if we declared under the public access specifier. Second, accessible from derived class. If we derived one class A from the class B, then A class can access the data of the B if we declare the in parent class, that is in a B class, as a public and accessible from object. So if we are creating the object of any other class, that is a second class, then that class can access the data of first class if we declared that data under the public access specifier. So this is the tabular information how that particular data and where that data can accessible. Now see an example, class A. In a class A, in a body of that, we declare public access specifier. Under that access specifier, we declare the variable int x, and here the end of the class. Now in a main function, we create object of the class A, and int v is equals to a dot x is equals to 10. So here we are printing the value is v. Okay. So under the class A, as we declare that variable as a public, so it is accessible over there. So this is the public access specifier example. In this example, public int x, that is the data member of the class declared under the public access specifier, and here int v is equals to a dot x is equals to 10. From outside the class A, we can access the public data member of the class A, as x variable is under the class A in under public access specifier, but as it is a public, so it is accessible outside the class. So this is the way how you can access the public data members. Now protected access specifier. Protected, it is the last access specifier and it is similar to private. Okay, some similarity between there. It makes class members inaccessible outside the class, as in a private that data members, that is the class members, are not accessible outside the class. Same in a protected. Now we'll see the example about the private access specifier. So in a class A, under the private access specifier, we declare int x, and here end of the class. So in that class, it is under the private access specifier. Then in a main function, we create the object a. So we cannot access private data member in this way. That is, what way? Int v is equals to a dot x is equals to 10. So through the object, we cannot access the private data members. So cout value is equals to v. That it is not going to print because that private data member is not accessible. So here you will get the compiler error. Class student, here private int register number string name. So these two variable we declared under the private section. Then in the public section, we define the member function void get data, and we define that get data function as enter the register number, cout enter the register number, cin register number, that is taking the value from the user and reading that value. Then cout enter the name, cin name. So we are also taking the name from the user and reading that name. So this is the class student, in which we declare the data members, that is the register number and name under the private access specifier, and member function get data, that is under the public access specifier. Now we declared void show data. In this member function, we write cout register number and cout name. So whatever the data we are taking, that we are displaying by using the show data, and here completion of the class, that is a student. Then int main student obj. So here we are creating the object using reference variable, and obj creating an object of the class student. Obj dot get data, obj dot show data, return 0. So here by using the object, we are calling the public member function of the class student. So this is about the class student. So we'll get the output as enter the register number 1122, enter the name Adil. So register number is 1122 and name is Adil. So we are printing the that number and the name, as this is the way how can we declare the private members and the public members, and in main function how can we access that data. Then what is the default access specifier? Default access specifier means when no access specifier mentioned, then default access specifier is private. Suppose you declare the class and you just write int ABC. That time you are not writing private, public or protected. That time it will by default take as a private. Example, class student int register number string name. This is the definition of the class student, and here class student in the body private access specifier int register number and string name. So both are equivalent. That is, if you are here in first, you are not declaring the access specifier as any private, protected or public, that time it will take by default as a private. So which is the default access specifier? That is the private is the default access specifier. So we have seen the introduction of the that different access specifier, public, private and protected, and their use in programming. Thank you.